Obsession is a powerful thing. Obsess over the wrong things and you'll destroy yourself. Obsess over lucrative things and you'll expand yourself. A third of your games are inevitable losses. Another third of your games are inevitable wins. The final third are where the odds of victory are truly somewhere around 50%. And there's no getting around this. This is how it'll always be. And those odds are actually pretty great. That said, I'll level with you. Cursed lobbies do exist. You're just doomed. Sometimes it happens 7 times in a row. It can be especially frustrating when you were just one game away from the next rank entirely and instead find yourself fighting for your life at the bottom of the rank you were about to climb out of. But here's the thing, my fellow Mafia members. If you're taking your wins and losses as anything other than a grain of salt, you will lose your mind. We are here to have fun, and I assure you there is plenty of fun to be had even in a cursed lobby. How, you ask? Well, lucky for us, that's what this video is about. Think in seasons, not days. I'm referring to the competitive season as a whole. Where you started, where you went, and where you ended up. If you know that a third of your games are going to be an automatic loss with some compensation most times, it softens the mental blow of the experience. That's why it's there. The matchmaker knows it has essentially set you up to fail, but there's a reason why it makes a game for you anyway. And that's because even in a cursed lobby, victory is technically possible. Sure, your odds are more like 20% as opposed to 50, but that's where your skill enters the equation. The skill of a great player is in shifting those odds as much as possible. And if you manage to do so, you get compensated if you truly were given the weaker team. What I'm about to say is a bit of a paradox, but it'll give you an anchor of sanity as you fight despite the odds. Your individual performance across several games is the only thing you have complete control over. If you are the LeBron James of the lobby 7 games out of 10, mathematically, no matter how long it takes, you will climb over time. But in order to actually track that individual performance for what it is, we have to shift our perspective from days to seasons. We have to zoom out. Your competitive season has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a story. Even if you start very low on the ladder due to bad luck and placements, there is something that remains at the level of your true rank. That thing is your skill level. Wins and loss streaks come and go, but your effectiveness across all of those games is the one thing that remains the same. If you're a skilled hit scan player, when your team actually synergizes with your kit, the odds are heavily in your favor. But if the vast majority of your games today have been against psychotic dive comps and you're not a demon on Cassidy, you're gonna go down with the ship a lot. So sure, you can keep insta-locking Cassidy and flaming the pants off of your teammates for not being able to keep you alive or give you space, or you can swap to one of the other 23 options to help give your team an edge. Now, of course, this doesn't mean it's always going to lead to victory, but it will shift the momentum, and it'll stretch your roster. I personally have a decent roster of tools when my specialty isn't working. Yes, we have to consider bans, but that's at most 5 characters, still leaving 18 other options you can try to break the enemy team's momentum and get the ball rolling for your team. The fun is in experimenting and figuring out what that is. It doesn't have to be a miserable slog through these lobbies, y'all. There's bound to be a pick that will be fun to experiment with in those cursed lobbies. The skill check is in figuring out what that is and building on it so that you can meet the moment with some resistance at some point in the future. There are so many options to choose from. And while it's not a wise idea to constantly counter the enemy, it's always a good idea to stretch out your skill set when applicable. For example, if I'm dealing with skilled flyers on Sojourn, there's always Soldier or Emre. If we've got a cracked out Onron spawn camping us, there's always Cass, Junk, Mei, Venture, or Bastion to slow her down. These lists are by no means exhaustive, by the way. There's even more than that, but, basic kits and all that. If our tank is drunk or overstimulated, there's Reaper, Junk, Mei, or Sim possibly to help frontline and give our tipsy tank some room to breathe. If you're just sick of everything and want to see death, there's always Widow or Hanzo. And if things are really bad, you can always troll on Tracer. That's a personal favorite, but my point is, the shifting tides of wins and losses don't have to stress you out. That's what the roster is here for. So, to recap, think in seasons rather than days, and don't be afraid to experiment. You just might find that you're having a lot more fun than you otherwise would. And that's what we're here to do, right? I thought so. With that, let's get to today's VOD review. We start our game with D.Va, Soj, Genji, Ana, and Mercy, which means we've got respectable damage at close to mid-range and quite a few defensive tools if we get stuck. It's a slower dive/brawl comp where the goal is to get in and get out, dive, but instead of committing to a kill immediately, we wear them down by disengaging and re-engaging while they're still recovering, brawl. This is a general idea of what we want and is essential to developing your skill and overall game sense. That said, man makes plans and God laughs. Ryan gets the party started with a fire strike and I eat it. Can't have him getting too much ult charge. I break the shield, but junk spam is real, so I relocate behind some cover on point to take a more favorable angle right as Mercy gets shot in the face. I set up on point while Genji flanks. Ryan advances and I get stuck in a trap. It all goes downhill from there, and this is where most teams tilt away the entire match. If we don't regroup successfully here, first point is already theirs. It's that punishing. As always, I resent the fact that Zarya is banned because she'd be great here, but I get over it and try to take high ground from Junk. I knock him off and take an oppressive angle up top on the team. I want as many eyes on me while my team sets up. It works, and I advance a little to see what I can find. Granny dies and we drop to cap point. I disengage to try to cover for Mercy, but she eats her grenade as Junk blows up our Genji. At this point, they have this in the bag, and I retreat, involuntarily. It's time to try something else, so I hop on Sig. My thinking is that with a shield and some poke, we can slow down their momentum. The enemy team is a very fast brawl comp, meaning that their burst damage is quite high. This makes holding space nearly impossible without something or someone to slow them down. A wild Rhine appears, but I use Rock to knock him back and rotate back to the team. Is there anything quite as demoralizing as a nanoed Rhine, purple health, and 4 people looking directly at you? Let me know in the comments. We're pretty spread out here and staggered to hell, so I scout for some ways onto point while my team regroups. Junk catches our Sojourn slipping and I wait patiently for a chance to regroup safely. We successfully get to the same side of the map and advance along the corridor. At this point, I know I need to swap again and draw Rhine toward me so my team can get some ult charge. I'd go out like a champ and consider my other options. My favorite answers for the problems we're facing are banned, but I decide the best possible chance for a win is gonna be with Orisa. Her damage at mid to close range is a perfect response to all the bursts. I can catch their healers off guard with spam, stay alive a lot longer, and ruin Ryan's day. Granny kills Granny, and I throw Javelin into a wall. As you're about to see, I am really good at that. Sojourn gets revenge on Junk, and we advance on the point as a team for the first time this match. We finally cap point and set up for defense after a nice blade by my day one on Genji. We chip away at their health as much as we can as they approach. I land a javelin on Kunai Karen as Cowboy approaches on the left. I remember I'm Orisa and armor up. Enemy team presses Q, and they cap second point. Though it isn't the easiest to see when you're behind, our current composition is definitely making a difference. This alone is enough to have a better shot at a win going forward. A large part of the fun of Overwatch for me is in finding the solution to the problem. Each character is a unique answer to a variety of situations we find ourselves in on the ladder. Even when we're significantly behind, there's a joy in finding the appropriate answer and pushing the needle toward victory as much as possible. Even when it feels impossible, the skills you build from searching for an answer instead of flaming your team are what ultimately improve your win rate and your rank over time. Remember, think in seasons, not days. I scout from high ground and Junk lands on top of me. I rotate back to main and try to get the enemy to scatter more. The farther apart they are from each other, the less their burst damage compounds. I land another rare javelin on Kunai Karen and back up a bit as I set up for an ult. Day one kills Granny, but Cowboy pops Deadeye behind us. I definitely could have hit him with javelin, but I just don't have faith in it. I land another one on Kunai Karen though as I keep their eyes on me. And that's when I find a decent time for an ult to clear them off. I finally kill Kunai Karen, and with a heart full of vengeance, I run Ryan down. We cap the point as the Australian psychopath retreats, and I scout for an angle. Granny kills her twin again, and I rotate back to main for defense. Soj pops ult and takes aim from behind cover, but Junk says no. We lose our other DPS, and I decide it's best to hold as long as possible. Every percent counts. Even though you're gonna lose point, it makes sense to get as much of it as possible in the meantime. Granny lands a solid nade, forcing Kunai Karen to use Suzu, but it's futile in the end, which isn't an issue considering we've got a solid lead. We just need to regroup and win 1 to 2 more fights, and that point is ours. If they have ults, you can bet they're going to use them. This is match point for them after all. We push forward through Junk spam because we've got no choice in the matter. I take an angle through cover as I approach the point. I grab a mini health pack and prepare to risk it all. Junk cuts off my angle and I rotate back to main. This is our last chance. Ryan knows this, shatters and dives me for a massive amount of damage. I get up to see that he's also nanoed and breathing directly into my eye. I armor up just in time for Granny's sleep drug and a perfectly timed nano just for me. Waterboy and Soldier get 2 crucial picks as I send Ryan back to Germany. Granny gets sweet revenge on the Australian psycho, and we cap point again, scoring our first point of the match. Clearly what we've got works, so now we just need to outplay them. What was once a 28% chance of victory is looking a lot more like 50 or 60, and all because of a swap or two. It's not about directly countering a particular character, it's about synergizing with the tools of the team. I hit a junk trap because of course, and he lobs a few my way. We advance toward our next point with high spirits and a couple ults around the corner. I get hit with every cooldown imaginable and slow down to recover. Pushing down narrow pathways with a junk actively spamming at you isn't smart, but pushing past those spaces to get out and into the open is. Junk takes a fat rocket to the face and we push our numbers advantage. I break shield and advance with a world-class javelin into the void. I get hit by another nade and slow down a bit so I don't get eaten, and Mizuki ult opens up that lane entirely. Soj kills Granny, German Terminator dives me, but it's not enough because of Risa. I run him down and pop a fat ult to get them low and we clean up. Tyre kills Granny and we mourn her as we cap the point. I throw another top 500 javelin and get trapped, but I don't die because of Risa. German Terminator kills Waterboy and I respond with another top 500 javelin. Germinator shatters me, hits me with 2 fire strikes and I get slept, but I live because of Risa. I throw another javelin at nothing in particular and attempt to cut off access to point while I still can. Germinator gets another nano and Kunai Karen ult, but it doesn't matter because Orisa. Granny gives me drugs as Ryan and I throw hands. Then she gives Ryan drugs, but they're bad, and I manage to land a javelin on a stationary target. We get a team kill and now it's anyone's game. We're riding high on momentum and feeling ready to run it down for the win. A lot of skill-based games contain pockets of momentum that directly affect how well you play. This is why morale is so important. If you feel good, you'll play better. Enemy team cuts off our path to point, forcing a fight that wasn't favorable in the slightest, but we do what we can. Another note on momentum. When it's high, you play more confidently and in most cases more accurately. You stop thinking as much and enter a flow state of sorts. If you destroy this momentum with unnecessary criticism in the chat, you destroy everyone else's potential flow state. That's not to say you shouldn't communicate, but be mindful of how you're communicating. I don't know what enemy team's chat looked like, but I can't imagine spirits were high. Keep this in mind when you're communicating with your team. It could decide the fate of a match more than anything else sometimes. I managed to kill the peeking cowboy and press our numbers advantage. We back them up to point and force Suzu. I throw a javelin into the void for good measure, and I step onto point when Ryan goes on a sightseeing tour off the map. Granny goes for the stall and gets a shuriken stuck in her eye patch. Then we cap the point and set up for defense. Cowboy does a hate grime on our cyborg ninjas, so we turtle up to hold point for as long as we can. Germinator advances and we rotate back to recover from a ton of damage. I armor up and watch carefully for a chance to engage, but Kunai Karen gives me the slip. It's anyone's game in every aspect now as we try to regroup. Granny lets us know her drugs are ready, and we approach point for one last fight to take this home. I throw a sensational javelin at a wall that looked at me funny and close in on point. Ryan dives my healers and I dive his. I send Kunai Karen to voicemail and Granny gives me drugs for one last stand. Germinator appears as 2 of us die. It's now or never, so I pop ult and pray. The universe smiles upon me as we clean up in spectacular fashion. We live to fight another day and set up for our last shot at defense. I actually land a javelin on Germinator as I rotate back to point. Germinator goes for a last-ditch dive, but I stall him because of Risa. I throw a javelin at nothing, surprising no one as both grandmas land massive nades and I manage to live because of Risa. The Australian psycho meets his maker, and so does that accent because why was I doing that in the first place? I finally land a javelin when it matters most, which is after you've won apparently, as we secure a reverse sweep. Consider how this match started and how differently it ended. Consider all the choices available to us between those 2 points. And remember to think in seasons, not days. You will lose many battles over the course of life, but that doesn't mean you've lost the war. Can you find the fun in the process? If so, you've already won. This concludes episode 2 of the Metal Rank Mafia. If you enjoyed this, let me know with a like, a comment, a share, anything to tell the algorithm where it's at. I appreciate all the love and conversations that have already spun out of this project. We're already well on our way to a better community. You can find full episodes on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Metal Rank Mafia, and new episodes drop in full on YouTube every Monday. None of this would be possible without your time, and I thank you for spending it here. Good luck, have fun, and I'll see you again soon.